Hello everyone, my name is Andres Melo and we're going to see a short um, summary of project time management. What is time management? Well, it's basically the process that helps us get to our goal or to our scope within time, to complete our project within time. The process. For completing the process of project time management, we will have to use different sub processes that we have that conform the whole thing. First of all, we have plan the schedule management. Second, define activities. Third, sequence the activities. Fourth, estimate activity resource. Five, estimate activity duration. 6. Develop schedule. And 7. Control the schedule. And we're going to see each and every one of those more uh, completely throughout the video. Now, for the project schedule, we will have to consider a scheduling method that we're going to see. For example, CPM, PERT, it's a diagram where you identify every activity that you're going to do and its predecessors and successors. Scheduling tool, schedule module, project information such as the WBS work breakdown structure of the project, activity resource, duration, dependencies, and all of this we use to generate our output that is going to be the project schedule. Here, example of project schedule is a bar chart, activity list, and network diagrams. Here we have the bar chart. For example, Microsoft Project, the software, helps us develop these kind of schedules. Here also we have the list and network diagram. Every different tool help us identify or visualize the project in different ways, always considering every task. First of all, schedule plan management. For the schedule plan management, help us to establish policies, procedures, and documentation for the planning. It helps us develop, manage, execute, and control the schedule for the whole project. The key benefits for the plan schedule management is that it provides a guidance and direction on how the project schedule will be managed throughout the project. Our inputs. What are our inputs going to be for this section? First of all, we're going to have the project management plan. Second, the project charter that helps us see a summary of our milestones. The project management plan helps us to visualize the work breakdown structure and see what activities do we have to plan. Enterprise environmental factors, organizational culture, resources, software, authorization systems. All of this is going to be important in the enterprise environmental factors as an input in the planning schedule, because we have to identify what is our organizational culture and how is it going to affect the company, the project. Resources, what are our resources available? We cannot determine how long are we going to complete, in how much time are we going to complete a task if we don't have an idea of the resource that we have available for that project. Software, we have a lot of software that helps us plan a project, such as the one I mentioned already, Microsoft Project. What software are we going to use? And authorization systems. What is the procedure or process that our company has in order to approve or authorize a project? Organizational process assets, monitoring tools, historical information, schedule tools, and templates. Historical information, basically we use other projects as example for developing our new one. lessons learned, and things like that. Monitoring tools. How do we measure or monitor the project evolution? Schedule tools. What tools do we have available in the company? And templates. What are the templates that we have to use within our organization? The tools and techniques for plan schedule management is expert judgment, analytical techniques, and meetings. For the expert judgment, like we mentioned before, historical information, we gather up a group of experts and talk about how should we manage the project. And analytical techniques such as scheduling methodology, scheduling tools and techniques, estimating approach, formats, project management software. And meetings, we gather up and decide how are we going to implement the project. Next, we have our outputs, which is going to be the schedule management plan, which is basically going to be conformed of the project schedule model development, level of accuracy, units of measures, organizational procedures links, and so we have basically a schedule management plan. How are we going to schedule the project? Next, define activities. For defining the activities, we have to identify and document specific actions. Well, it helps us to do this. Key benefits, work breakdown, break down work packages into activities that provide basis for estimating, scheduling, executing, monitoring, and controlling the project work. For inputs, we're going to use schedule management plan, scope baseline, enterprise environmental factors, organizational process assets, for which we're going to use lessons learned, standardized procedures, and templates. Our outputs are going to be the decomposition. The tools and techniques are going to be our decomposition, dividing and subdividing the project scope, rolling wave planning, which is an iterative planning technique. We use it to identify every task that we have and how every task is correlated with the previous one. Expert judgment, we already mentioned, and our outputs are going to be activity list, which is basically the schedule for the project, all the activities. Activity attributes, we already mentioned. Milestone list, significant point or event in a project. We are going to have a list of every key point or every milestone of the project. This will help us to identify or to have these milestones that help us see if the project is evolving as we want to. Sequence the activities. Sequence activity is a process of identifying and documenting relationships among the project activities. This will help us to see, like we mentioned at the beginning, which activities we have to do once we have the list. It's going to be an input. What's the list of the activities and what activity we have to do previous to the next one. The benefits is that it helps us define the logical sequence of the work. Like I was mentioning, we will have now not only the list of the activities we have to complete, but the order in which we have to complete them. The inputs: schedule management plan, activity list, like I mentioned, activity attributes, milestone list, project scope statement, enterprise environmental factors, and organizational process assets. These are similar to outputs of the previous steps and inputs to previous steps, like we mentioned, the ones that we already mentioned. Sequence the activities, tools and techniques. For the tools and techniques, we're going to use predecessence diagramming method. We will have to define or identify which task do we have to finish before the next one starts, which task we have to finish for the next one to finish as well, which one do we have to start in order to another one be able to start, and which one has to start in order for the next one to finish. This is the diagramming method. Dependency determination, we have to determine what is the level of dependency of one task with the other. For this, we will have different types of dependencies, such as mandatory dependencies, discretionary, external, and internal dependencies. And leads and lags is going to help us. Is the process in which we see how long a task, how much time do we have left to complete that task. Activities, the outputs are going to be the project schedule network diagrams and project document updates. We're going to update every document that we have and the network diagram. Now we have the whole diagram or the network of our project, which task is dependent on which and how level. Next, the estimate activity resources. The activity resource is the process of estimating the type and quantities of material, human resource, equipment, or supplies required to perform each activity. And the key benefit of this process is that it identifies the type, quantity, and characteristics of resources required to complete the activity, which allows more accurate cost and duration estimates. Our inputs are going to be schedule management plan, activity list, activity attributes, resource calendars, risk register, activity cost estimates, enterprise environmental factors, and organizational process assets. Our tools and techniques for the estimate activity resource are going to be expert judgment, alternative analysis, established estimating data, bottoms-up estimating. We saw these on another video. Bottom-up estimating is going to help us identify from the bottom of the pyramid to see every activity that we have in the project. How are we going to satisfy or assign resource to every one of those activities, and then we see the whole thing, the whole macro, what's our total resource for the whole project. Project management software, we're going to use different software for these analysis. Like I mentioned, Microsoft project helps us with this, has a lot of features for this determination or for this assignment of resource. Our outputs are going to be activity resource requirement. What are we going to need to complete the project, or what resource we're going to need. Resource breakdown structure is like the work breakdown structure, but assigned a resource. We have the work breakdown structure and the resource for every activity. And project document updates. Estimate activity durations is the process of estimating the number of work periods needed to complete individual activities with estimated resource. Now we know what is our resource availability. Now we will have to define how many weeks, years, months, days, like it says here, work periods, are we going to need to complete the whole project. We have five people available with 10 tools. Okay, our project is going to last 5 weeks. The key benefit of this process is that it provides the amount of time each activity will take to complete. We have our resource. We will have now, using this analysis, we will know how much time each activity is going to take. Estimate activity duration, or inputs. Schedule management plan, activity list, activity attributes, activity resource requirements, and resource calendar. Like I mentioned before, we have our activity list. Now we know, thanks to previous steps, we know what is our activity resource requirements. So now we can develop the plan. More inputs, we have the project scope management, risk register, resource breakdown structure, enterprise environmental factors, and organizational process assets. For the tools and techniques, we will use expert judgment, analogous estimating, parametric estimating, 3-point estimating, group decision making, and reserve analysis. All of these different analysis techniques will help us identify how much time will the task last using the, or depending on our resource availability. Estimate activity durations. The output. We're going to have activity duration estimates and project document updates. Develop schedule. For developing the schedule, is a process of analyzing activity sequence durations, resource requirements, and schedule constraints to create the project model. The key benefit of this process is that by entering schedule activities, durations, resource availabilities, and logical relationships into the scheduling tool, it generates a schedule model with planned dates for completing the project activities. We can use software to do this, and it helps us identify, okay, I have this task, it will take this long, using this resource. So this is basically the whole thing, the whole development of the schedule. For inputs, we're going to have a schedule management plan, activity list of attributes, project schedule network diagram, activity resource requirements, resource calendars. Basically, the whole. For inputs, we're going to have schedule management plan, activity list, activity attributes, project schedule network diagrams, activity resource requirements, resource calendars, activity duration estimates, project scope statement, risk register, project step assignment, resource breakdown structure, enterprise environmental factors, and organizational process assets. Basically, the output of every previous step that we saw is going to be the input for developing the final schedule. The tools and techniques: schedule network analysis, critical path method, critical chain method, resource optimization techniques, modeling techniques, leads and lags, schedule comprehension, and scheduling tool. Basically, for creating the whole project, tools and techniques, schedule networking will help us create this network or this complete visualization of the whole project. The activity relationships, the duration, the whole thing, the whole schedule. Next, we will have our outputs. Schedule baseline, project schedule, schedule data, project calendars, project management plan, updates, and document updates. Now, last but not least, the control schedule. Control schedule is the process of monitoring the status of the project activities to update project process and manage changes to the schedule baseline to achieve the plan. Key benefits of this process is that it provides the means to recognize deviation from the plan and take corrective and preventive actions, thus minimize the risk. Now, we already did the whole previous thing of creating, analyzing, evaluating the resource, the timing, and everything of the project. We already have the project schedule. We already developed the project schedule. That was part of the planning phase. Now, control, monitoring and measuring will help us guarantee that this project will complete its final due date or its scope. For it, we will have our tools and technique, our inputs, project management plan, project schedule, work performance data, project calendars, schedule data, and organizational process assets. The tools and techniques will be performance reviews, project management software, resource optimization techniques, modeling techniques, leads and lags, schedule comprehension, and scheduling tools. And finally, for the outputs, we will have work performance information, schedule forecasts, change requests, project management plan updates, project document updates, and organizational process assets updates. Here the process, the schedule forecast, for example, will help us see or determine if we are going to complete the project within the planned date or the due date. We will be able to see, okay, how was our performance to this date. We started the project, we are in the middle of the project, and we'll see how are we evolving. Are we completing the time, the schedule? Is everything okay? Are we going to complete the final date? Probably yes, probably no. Maybe we'll be able to finish the project with a gap, or maybe we'll have to make some changes to the resource and assign different resource to different activities in order to be able to complete the project within time, and different outputs that we will have. Well, basically, that's it. I hope you like it. If you want to see more, if you want to learn more about project management, I really recommend reading the PM book. It's a lot of information there, but it's really helpful. See you later.